ब्रह्मानन्दं परमसुखदं केवलं ज्ञानमूर्तिम् द्वन्द्वतीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वमसि आदिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं विमलम् अचलं सर्वधी साक्षीभूतम् भावतीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि. Shalom friends, today we will take reading of chapter 41 of third book on creation. And in this chapter 41, Leela and Saraswati enter King Viduratha's tent. He remembers his past lives. Everything is within the temple of the mountain Brahmin. Discrimination of error. This is the subject that this chapter will deal. Vasishtha said, when the ladies entered the tent, it appeared like a bed of lotuses. Its white ceiling seemed as graceful as the vault of heaven, with two moons rising at once under it. A pure and cooling fragrance spread about it, as if blown by the breeze from mandara flowers, and lulled the prince to sleep. Everyone was lying in their camps. It made the place as pleasant as the celestial pleasure garden of the Nandan, and healed all the pains and cares of the people there. It seemed like a spring garden filled with the fragrance of fresh blown lotuses in the morning. The cooling and moon bright radiance of the ladies roused the king from his sleep as if he had been sprinkled with the juice of ambrosia. He saw the forms of two apsaras sitting on two stools, appearing like two moons risen on two peaks of Mount Meru. The king saw them with wonder, and after composing his mind, he rose up from his bed like God Vishnu rises from his bed of the serpent. Then advancing respectfully to them, with long strings of flower in his hands, he made offerings of them to the ladies, and with handfuls of flowers flung at their feet. Leaving his pillowed sofa in the midst of the hall, he sat with the folded legs on the ground. Lowly bending his head, he addressed them, saying, "Be victorious, O moon-bright goddesses, whom by your radiance drive away all the miseries and evils and pains and pangs of life, and whom by your sun-like beams dispel all my inward and outward darkness." Saying so, he poured handfuls of flowers on their feet, as trees on the banks of a lake drop down their flowers on the lotuses growing in it. Then the goddess, desiring to reveal the ancestry of the king, inspired his minister, who was lying nearby, to relate it to Leela. Upon waking, the minister saw the nymphs manifested before him, and advancing humbly before them, threw handfuls of flowers upon their feet. The goddess said, "Let us know, O king, whom you are, and when and of whom you are born." Hearing these words of the goddess, the minister spoke, saying, "It is by your favor, O gracious goddesses, that I am empowered to relate of my king's ancestry to your kind graces. There was a sovereign born of the imperial line of Ch42 named Mukundrat, who had subjugated the earth under his arms. He had a moon-faced son by the name of Bhadrat, whose son Vishwarath was father to the renowned prince Brihadarath. His son Sindhurath was the father of Sailrath, and his son Kamrath was father of Maharath. His son Vishnurat was father of Naborath, who gave birth to this my lord of handsome appearance. He is renowned as Viduratha. and is born with the great virtues of his sire. As the moon was produced of the milky ocean to shed his ambrosial beam over his people, he was begotten by his mother Sumitra, like the god Guha of Gauri. He was installed king of the realm in the 10th year of his age, owing to his father taking himself to asceticism. He has been ruling the realm with justice since that time, and your appearance here tonight indicates the blossoming of his good fortune. O goddesses, whose presence is hard to be had, even by the merit of long devotion and 100 austerities, you see here present before you the Lord of the earth, famed Viduratha. He is highly blessed today by your favor. After saying these words, the minister remained silent with the Lord of the earth. They were sitting on the ground with folded legs, clasped hands, and downcast looks, when the goddess of wisdom, by her inspiration, told the king to remember his former birth. So saying, she touched his head with her hand, and immediately the dark veil of illusion and oblivion was dispersed from over the lotus of his mind. It opened like a blossom by the touch of the genius of consciousness, and it became bright as the clear sky with the rays of his former memories. By his intelligence he remembered his former kingdom, of which he had been the sole lord, and recollected all his past play with Leela. He was carried away by the thoughts of the events of his past lives, as one is carried away by the current of waves, and reflected in himself that his world is a magic sea of illusion. He said, I have come to know this by the favor of the goddesses, but how is it that so many events have occurred to me in course of one day after my death? Here I have passed a lifetime full of 70 years, and remember having done my works and having seen my grandson. I recollect the bygone days of my boyhood and youth, and I remember well all the friends and relatives, and all the clothes and attendants that I had before. The goddess replied, know, O king, that after the fit of unconsciousness attending your death was over, your soul continued to remain in the emptiness of the same place where you still reside. This royal pavilion where you think yourself living is situated in the empty space within the house of the Brahmin in that hilly district. It is inside that house that you see the appearances of your other homes present before you. And it was in that Brahman's house that you devoted your life to my worship. It is the shrine within that same house and on the same spot that contains the whole world which you are now seeing all about you. This abode of yours is situated in that same place and within the clear firmament of your mind. It is a false notion of your mind which you have gained by your habitual mode of thinking, that you are born in your present state of the race of Ikshvaku. Mere imagination has made you suppose yourself to be named and so, and that such and such persons were your ancestors, that you had been a boy of 10 years, that your father became an ascetic in the woods and left you governing the realm, that you have subjugated many countries under your dominion and are now reigning as the Lord paramount over them, and that you are ruling on earth with these ministers and officers of yours, observing sacrificial rites and justly ruling your subjects. You think that you have passed 70 years of your life and that you are now beset by very formidable enemies, and that having waged a furious battle, you have returned to this tent of yours, where you are now seated and intend to adore the goddesses whom have become your guests here. You are thinking that these goddesses will bless you with your desired object, because one of them has given you the power of recollecting the events of your former birth, that these goddesses have opened your understanding like the blossom of a lotus, and that you have the prospect of getting rid of all questions, that you are now at peace and rest, and enjoy the solace of your solitude, and that your long continued error is now removed forever. You remember the many acts and pleasures of your past life in the body of King Padma before you were snatched away by the hand of death. You now perceive in your mind that your present life is only a shadow of the former, and it is the same wave that by its rise and fall carries one forward, onward. The constant current of the mind flows like a river and leads a man like a weed from one whirlpool to another. The course of life now runs alone as in dreaming, and then accompanied by the body as in the waking state, both of which leave their traces in the mind at the hour of death. The sun of consciousness being hidden under the mist of ignorance, there rises a network of a false world which makes a moment appear like 100 years. Our lives and deaths are mere phantoms of imagination, just like we imagine houses and towers in aerial castles and icebergs. So, in these three stanzas, in these three shlokas, 50, 51, in these two shlokas, a great treasure of wisdom is taught to us. I am reading the meaning of these. Actually, this is not it. This is Utpatti Khand, and we are talking Utpatti Khand. It is on creation. I want to read out these two shlokas. These have very wonderful meaning. I want to read out its shlokas. This is Utpatti Khand and Utpatti Prakaranam, and this is chapter 41. Utpatti Karanam Sarga, and this is Panchashatam 3 Chatvarish. This is Chatvarish, and we are on the next one. This is Ek Chatvarish Sarga, and we are on 50 and 51 Shloka. This Sarg says, एतज्जलां सदूपं चिद्भानो समुपस्थितम् यथा स्वप्नमुहूर्ते अन्ते संवत्सरशतभ्रमः यथा संकल्पनिर्माणे जीवनं मरणं पुनः यथा गन्धर्वनगरे कुण्डमण्डनवेदनम्. Actually, in these chapters we are seeing the story moving forward, but between these stories there comes the knowledge, some sargs of some shloks of very knowledgeable things, that is for example in the 50th and 51st shloka. The meaning of 50th shloka, etat jalam sadupam chidbhano sam upastitam यथा स्वप्नम मुहूर्ते अंतः संवत्सर शतभ्रमा. The sun of consciousness being hidden under the mist of ignorance, there rises a network of false world which makes a moment appear like 100 years. And in the 51 it is said, our lives and deaths are mere phantoms of imagination, just like we imagine houses and towers in aerial castles and icebergs. This is 51, and in the 51 it is like yatha sankalp nirmane जीवनम मरणम पुनः यथा गंधर्व नगरे कुंडमंडन वेदनम. Our Let us move forward. The world is an illusion, like the delusion of moving banks and trees to a passenger in a vessel on water. a rapid vehicle on land, or like the trembling of a mountain or quaking of the earth to one affected by a convulsive disease. As one sees extraordinary things in his dream, such as the decapitation of his own head, so he views the illusions of the world that can hardly be true. In reality, you were neither born nor dead at any time or at any place, but ever remain as pure consciousness in the tranquility of your own soul. So this is 54th. And what is that in Sanskrit? Let us see. Vastu tastu na jato asi namarto asi kadachana shuddha vijnana rupastvam shantatmani tishtasi. In reality, you are neither born nor dead at any time or at any place, but ever remain as pure consciousness in the tranquility of your own soul. You are always sitting in your own soul. You seem to see all things about you, but you are seeing nothing in real, nothing real in them. Your all seeing soul sees everything in itself. This is a wonderful concept. You must not have heard it anywhere else. You are seeing this world. You are seeing it all, everything, the whole world in your own soul. The soul shines by its own light like a brilliant gem. Nothing that appears beside it, whether this earth or yourself or anything else, is a reality. These hills and cities, these people and things, and ourselves also, are all unreal and mere phantoms appearing in the hollow vault of the Brahmin of the hilly district. The kingdom of Leela's husband was only a picture of this earth, and his palace, with all its grandeur, is contained within the sphere of the same hollow shrine. The known world is contained within the empty sphere of that shrine, and it is in one corner of this mundane house that all of us here are situated. The sphere of this vaulted shrine is as clear as emptiness itself, which has no earth or house in it. It is without any forest, hill, or sea or river, and yet all beings are found to rove about in this empty and homeless abode. Here there are no kings, no royal retinue, and nothing else that kings have on earth. Viduratha asked, if it is so, then tell me, O goddess, how did I happen to have these dependents here? A man is rich in his own mind and spirit. It is not so ordained by divine mind and spirit. If not, then the world must appear as a mere dream, and all these men and things are only creatures of our dreams. Tell me, goddess, what things are spiritually true and false? How are we to distinguish the one from the other? Saraswati answered, know, prince, that those who have known the only knowable one and are assimilated in the nature of pure understanding view nothing as real in the world except the empty consciousness within themselves. The misconception of the serpent in a rope being removed, the fallacy of the rope is removed also. The unreality of the world being known, the error of its existence also ceases to exist. Knowing the falsity of water in a mirage, no one thirsts after it anymore. Knowing the falsehood of dreams, no one thinks himself dead as he had dreamed. The fear of dreaming death may overtake the dying, but it can never assail the living in his dream. He whose soul is enlightened with the clear light of his pure consciousness is never misled into believing his own existence or that of others by the false application of the term I, you, this, or the like. Valmiki speaking. As the sage was lecturing in this manner, The day departed to its evening service with the setting sun. The assembly broke with mutual greetings to perform their evening rituals, and it met again with the rising sun after dispersion of the gloom of night. With this, chapter 41 ends, and we will take chapter 42 now. The philosophy of dreaming. Creation is a dream. Viduratha asked a boon to be reunited with his queen Leela, and we will take up this chapter. Vasishtha is speaking. The man who is devoid of understanding, ignorant, and unacquainted with the all pervading principle, thinks the unreal world as real, dense, and concrete. Just like a child is not freed from his fear of ghosts until his death, so the ignorant man never gets rid of his fallacy of the reality of the unreal world as long as he lives. Just like solar heat causes the error of water in the mirage to both dear and unwary people, so the unreal world appears as real to the ignorant part of mankind. As the false dream of one's death appears to be true within the dreaming state, so the false world seems to be a field of action and gain to the deluded man. Just like one, not knowing what is gold, sees a golden bracelet to be a mere bracelet and not gold, so the ignorant, without a knowledge of the causal substance, are ever misled by the appearance of form. The ignorant see a city, a house, a hill, and an elephant as they are presented before them. So appearances are all taken only as they are seen and not what they really are. As strings of pearls are seen in the sunny sky and various paints and tints in the plumage of the peacock, so the phenomenal world presents its false appearances as sober realities. No life to be a long sleep, and the world with myself and yourself are the visions of its dreams. We see many other persons in this sleepy dream. None is real, as you will now learn from me. There is only one all-pervading, quiet and spiritually substantial reality. It is of the form of unintelligible consciousness and an immense outspreading emptiness. It is omnipotent and all in all by itself. It is of the form manifesting itself everywhere. Hence, the citizens that you see in this visionary city are only transient forms of men presented in your dream by that omnipotent being. The mind of the viewer remains the same in the sphere of his dreams and represents images thought of by itself in that visionary sphere of mankind. The knowing mind has the same knowledge of things both in its waking and dreaming states, and it is by an act of the perceiving mind that this knowledge is imprinted as true in the conscious souls of men. Ram said, if persons seen in the dream are unreal, then tell me, sage, what is the fault in the embodied soul that makes them appear as reality? Vasishtha replied, the cities and houses seen in dreams are nothing in reality. The illusion of the embodied soul makes them appear as true, like those seen in the waking state in this ordinary world. I will give you proof of this. In the beginning of creation, and by the will of the Creator, the self-born Brahma himself had notions of all created things in the form of visionary appearances, like in a dream, and their subsequent development. Therefore, Their creator is as unreal as the notions and appearances in the dream. Learn this truth from me that this world is a dream, and that you and all other men have your sleeping dreams contained in your waking dreams of this ordinary world. If the scenes in your sleeping dream have no reality in them, how can you expect those in your daydreams to be real at all? As you take me for a reality, so do I also take you and all other things for realities likewise. And such is the case with everybody in this world of dreams. As I appear an entity to you in this ordinary world of London dream, so you too appear an actual entity to me. So it is with all in their protected dream. Ram asked, if both these states of dreaming are alike, then tell me, when the dreamer awakens, why doesn't he think the visions in his dreams were as real as those of his daydreaming state? Vasishtha replied, yes, night dreaming is of the same nature as daydreams. In that dream, objects appear to be real in both. Upon a man's awakening from sleep, the night dreams vanish in their empty air. Upon a man's death, his daydreams vanish in empty air. As the objects of your night dreams do not exist in time or place upon your waking, so also those of your daydream can have no existence upon death. Thus, everything that appears real for the present is unreal. And though it might appear as charming as a fairy form in a dream, at last it all disappears into an airy thing, nothing. There is one consciousness that fills all space. It appears as everything, both within and without everybody. It is only by our illusive conception of it that we take it in different lights. As one picks up a jewel he happens to see in a treasure house, so according to our own liking, we lay hold on anything with which the vast consciousness is filled. The goddess of intelligence, having caused the germ of true knowledge to sprout forth in the mind of the king by sprinkling the ambrosial drops of her wisdom over it, spoke to the king in this way at the end. I have told you all this for the sake of Leela. And now, good king, we shall take leave of you and these illusory scenes of the world. Vasishtha said. The intelligent king, being gently addressed by the goddess of wisdom, asked her in a humble tone. Viduratha said, your visit, O most bounteous goddess, cannot go for nothing. If, when we poor mortals cannot withhold our bounty from those who petition us for help, I will quit this body to go to another world as one passes from one chain of dreams into another. Look upon me, your petitioner, with kindness and grant me the favor I ask you. Because the great never refuse to grant the prayers of their suppliants. Grant that this virgin daughter of my minister may accompany me to the region where I shall be led, so that we may have spiritual joy in each other's company hereafter. Saraswati said, go now, king, to the former palace of your past life, and there reign without fear in the enjoyment of true pleasure. Know, king, that our visits never fail to fulfill the best wishes of our supplicants. With this, the chapter 42 ends, and we rest the reading session of today's at this point of time. And again, tomorrow we will meet by the grace of Lord Ram, and we will take up the next chapter of this third Prakaran, Utpatti Khand, that is on creation, and we will move on from the 43rd chapter or the Sarg onwards, you can see that in between the stories, spiritual messages are given, sometimes by Ma Saraswati, sometimes by rishis and others. And when we keep on listening these messages, with faith and belief, I hope that this reading session for me and listening session for you will really help us awaken in our true realities. I wish this for you and for me from Lord Shiva. Until then, Shivoham friends. We will meet again by the grace of Lord Ram. Shivo.